You need two things: a little bit of a feeling and faith that that's going to be enough. Why don't you need more clarity? Why is it so hard for us to move forward when we don't have the picture? It's like, if we don't know where we're going, exactly where we're going, then we're not going to start moving forward, right? Start your car and start driving into who knows where, like, and waste all this gas. Then once you get the idea, you get the aha, you know where you're going to go, then maybe you don't know how to do it. And you're like, well, then now I got to wait for a new aha, and I'll just give up because that's like really way too hard. Because the belief that it's not going to work, or it's going to be, the consequences are too big to face, what it would mean to your inner child's identity, that part of you is going to be threatened. I can't be a this or that because that's going to threaten my status in my tribe. So we need to make it easy for our trauma inner child, not difficult. We make it difficult for our inner child when we say, I have to have the whole picture, and then I have to know all the steps. We make it really difficult. We put a huge burden on their shoulders. I'm trying to let my Palo Santo this whole time. So speaking of forest, I used to go out into the forest and wait for my big aha. I would wait and walk for hours and hours and hours. These walks could be like up to 4 hours long. Can you feel me on that? Anybody understand that firsthand? Those 4-hour forest walks where you're like, not leaving until I have my clarity. I'd have camped out. First, talk about what happens instead, what we do instead. Because here's where we are right now. Where we are right now is I have to have the big picture, and then I have to have all the pieces. Once I get the big picture, I have to know how. In 2015, 2016, I thought I was losing my mind. I was going on these really, really, really long walks. I was super unhappy in my life. I was in probably panic attacks. I know we just throw that word around left and right, but it was not feeling good. And, breaking down, crying in public, and just barely holding on. I could not get my marriage to work, and I could not admit it wasn't gonna work. And then I started just paying attention to things that were working and trying to get refocused out of the gutter by looking at what was going right and developing a little bit more in those areas. And that got me to think, why don't I don't know what I'm doing in my marriage. I don't know what I'm doing in my career. I feel like a bullet without a target. I asked everybody at work if they had a keyboard. I was going to buy a keyboard. Someone's like, yeah, I got one. So there we go. So I start writing music again. Literally, I would get up in my, you know how it is when you wake up and you just, the anxiety is so bad, like going to sleep is the only option until you're too hungry and you have to pee and you can't. Your body forces you out of bed. This made me jump out of bed. I was just like a zombie. I'd like walk over to my keyboard and just turn it on and just be like, blah, blah, blah. And my anxiety would just melt away. I wasn't feeling so depressed. Like I was depressed, but I wasn't depressed all day. That was the difference. So I wasn't as long depressed, but I was as deep depressed. I didn't have the whole picture. I just was like, I need a keyboard. How did I get that idea, and why did I act on it? I got the idea because I allowed myself to think about what would make me feel good. And I know when we're depressed and when we're anxious and when we're really stuck, we are resistant to do good things that we like to do. You can get to a low enough point that the resistance isn't even keeping you from it. You're like, it's a lifeline. At that point, it's like a lifeline. I'm dead or else if I don't. Like, I was fighting for my life. Does anyone have a keyboard here at work? That was my 911. My nervous system got enough space out of trauma land that I could have the next thought, okay? We want the big aha. We want the big download. We want the, whoa, this is what I'm going to do. And here's the courage to do it. We want those two things. It wasn't coming, and I was dying and in my mind, and also kind of on that edge. I wasn't going to get the picture. Like where you're going to end up is the big puzzle put together. You get one piece at a time. I got this puzzle piece in place. I don't know, I'm going to end up in Europe, living here, working remotely, not doing massage, not having a boss, not living in New Jersey, not living in an urban area, but having an ocean out my window. Nope. No idea. None. I didn't know I was going to give up my apartment. I didn't know I was going to put all my stuff in storage. I didn't know I was going to hawk my saxophone, my bass, my 2 amplifiers, my microphone, my mic stand, my bass, did I say that? And my guitar, my electric guitar, and my 2 acoustic. I had no idea. I had no idea I was going to be saying bye to my son who was in college. Didn't know that. I didn't know I was going to be a full-time coach. If you'd have told me that, if you'd have given me the full picture of my life right now, here's what I would have done. I would have gone back to sleep. I would have gone back on a walk. The difference is listening to my body and saying, I don't know where I'm going, but here's the thing that feels good. And following your highest excitement, but that can be really triggering meaning triggering resistance, right? Follow your highest excitement. It's like, yeah, well, I don't deserve, I get to have a good life, so I'm not going to do that. So just forget that phrasing. But following the feeling of, what's a little nice? I guess it's a little bit of a trick, because we're not like, if we were to say, I'm going all in, this is what I'm going to do, blah, blah, blah. The inner child's like, no, we're not. This is the first thing, is getting that feeling. What following your highest excitement lead translates emotionally and physically in your body. What's that feeling signature that is small enough of a risk that it doesn't aggravate the feeling signature of, oh, hell no. Big enough of a risk that it's still a tiny bit exciting. That's why I did not start with, I'm going to go do improv. Before any of those was, let me play music, let me talk to a therapist, let me talk to one of my colleagues. That's where I started. This is how I save myself. What is going right in my life? Well, my friend and I, my colleague and I had a couple jokes today. Like literally, that's all I had. And every day after work, I would go to my car in the parking lot at Massage Envy. I had to write on the back of my tip envelope. I got tip envelopes with $20 bills in them. And I would write on the envelope of the day the thing that went right today. Until months and months went by and I opened my glove compartment. I had like all these envelopes. And I was just like reading one after the next. And I was like, that's a lot of evidence that things went right. I got to see what I valued, what I was looking for. And that made me feel good about myself. That made me feel like when I look for something, consciously notice it and find it, then I was finding evidence in my reality of things I wanted. And now I had this stack of evidence that things were going right. I just built my muscle of what does, as I had that idea that it didn't. And here now I have proof that, well, something is going right. First thing is the feeling of going towards something that's a little exciting, permission to move in that direction. The next thing you need is faith that that is even gonna work, because otherwise you won't do it. You'll be like, this is stupid. Like, I'm all full of resistance. I'm not gonna do it because it's gonna mean I have to keep doing it. And then it's gonna mean I have to face that I haven't been doing it. But if you have the understanding, the mindset, the belief, the conviction that, no, this works, that this, it won't be all that bad stuff, that I am going towards my soul, that I can stop anytime I want. I'm in control of this. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person because I stopped doing it. That is actually the piece of the puzzle that gets me the clarity of the next thing that I need to do. What if it is the case for you that once you do that, you actually do get the whole picture? I am not that lucky. I never get the whole picture. Yeah, some people do. I've had clients where they start walking in the direction of the thing and doing the one little thing, and then they get this, oh my God, I'm gonna do this. And they go and they buy a van and they renovate it, they buy an ambulance and they hook them together, and then they go and they drive to another country. True story. So, you might get your full download. You might already know what you need to do, but your problem is, I don't know how. I don't have all the little steps, and so I'm not going to do any of them. It's part of the second thing we need, which is faith that this works. I need to know all the steps, just like I didn't need to know the big picture. I get all hung up on, I don't have the picture. Once I have the kind of vision in my head, I just stumble along and like fall on my face and put it together. And some people the other way around. They have the whole big picture that they don't have, but their resistance is in the details. If I would have continued with my mindset of like, oh my God, I need to know the whole thing and I need to know how, I wouldn't have gotten coaching that helped me have the realization that I want to message somebody in Barcelona about improv, just for funsies, just for the shits and giggles, just for like no reason, just to play, let's stretch my field of possibilities. I wasn't going to go to Barcelona. I wasn't going to go to Athens. I wasn't going to go to Turkey. I wasn't going to put all my stuff in storage in 2 years. I wasn't going to, like, all this stuff I was never going to do. So at this point, I don't know what I've said and what I haven't, because I've made this video 3 times. Apologize if I'm repeating myself. The main thing I want to say is your higher self is not going to show you the whole picture, because if it did, you wouldn't believe it anyway. And if you did believe it, you would be overwhelmed, because you'd say, I can't. I don't have the tools. I don't know how. It's too far from your current identity. So when we go into the forest and we ask for the big vision, our higher self is like, I can't. I'm sorry. This is classified. But I will give you, crack open your clay making stuff. Like, I will give you go buy apples right now. But it takes like receiving the dumb thing and then saying, this is the lily pad I need. I've gotten it where it's like, go buy apples. And I'll go. I'll be like, when I get a thing, like, what am I doing this for? Like when I get a message, I know when I'm getting a message, I know the feeling of that is different than when I'm thinking, when I come up with the answer. Because first off, it's dumb. Like, well, my thoughts are dumb too, but it's irrelevant. It's like, it doesn't match. It's weird. Go get apples? I wouldn't have thought of that. Well, maybe I would have, but I wouldn't have. You know what I mean? So it's like, go get apples. And that led to me getting exercise and just like feeling like out of my funk. I didn't need to get apples. It wasn't the apple. So, but that's the hard part, is like, so that's where we need to, that's where we train ourselves. We train ourselves to ask and then to feel what it's like to get a dumb answer that's actually a smart answer, and then to do it. And then to do it. Now, if you believe in God, well, you kind of have an advantage, because you just ask God. If you believe in Buddha or Jesus or, a fluffy fox in the sky, ask them. If you believe in universal intelligence and love, ask that. I guess the premise here is the underlying premise of all of this is believing that there is a source of information that isn't your thinking brain, or maybe is a deeper part of your thinking brain, but it's a higher, caliber brain. I think that's the underpinning needed first needed belief is that there is something to draw from. And then the second one is that it is a good idea. It is the only way you're going to get your big aha, because we are incapable of receiving the message if we're just going to reject it because of our belief systems. If it's too big, when I do the little ones, strengthens the listening and acting muscle. I have more experience with listening and doing and identifying, yeah, that's a smart thing to do, because I have more evidence that that has worked, that system works. I have evidence. I can go, it happened this time, it happened this time, it happened this time, and then it happened this time, and those worked out good. So you get those by going and getting the apples, putting your socks together. About the socks is what that leads to. Maybe it is about the socks. Maybe there's $100 in your sock drawer. That's how you're going to speed up your aha, your clarity, your direction, your ability to move on, your inspirations, your downloads, all of that. That's how you're going to speed it up. Stop waiting for the big thing. Stop waiting for to know how. Like and subscribe. And there is going to be a resource for you. Description box, you can find it. It's going to help you understand your resistance so that you can access your intuition better, because you'll know more what's in the way. Highly recommend it. My clients really love this deep inquiry that anyone can do. You do not need shadow work experience to do this self-inquiry. You will see through the formula what your number one fear is giving you a wedgie right now. Okay. And other than that, I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.